I had been married to Amanda for 15 years, built what I thought was the perfect life with our daughter Lily, our beautiful home in Washington State, and careers we both loved. Everything seemed perfect until that Monday evening when Amanda casually mentioned her ex Jake had suffered a heart attack. Then came the words that would change everything. I am going to stay with Jake for 30 days to help him heal. My 17-year-old daughter immediately took her side, leaving me blindsided and confused about everything I thought I knew about our family. If you are watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you are viewing from. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear how my seemingly perfect marriage unraveled overnight. I am Sullivan, 38 years old, working as a senior software developer at a tech company outside Seattle. I met Amanda 16 years ago at a friend's birthday party. She had recently broken up with her college boyfriend Jake after dating for 3 years. Something just clicked between us that night. Her laugh, her intelligence, the way she seemed genuinely interested in my passions. Within a year we were married, and shortly after Amanda gave birth to our beautiful daughter Lily. We settled into a comfortable life in a suburban neighborhood with excellent schools. I worked hard to provide a stable environment for my family. We had a 4-bedroom house with a spacious backyard where we hosted summer barbecues for friends and family. Every Sunday we had a tradition of making pancakes together before heading to the local farmers market. Life was good, predictable in the best possible way. Amanda worked as an elementary school teacher, beloved by her students and respected by parents. I could not have been prouder of the life we had built together. Lily grew into a smart, confident teenager with her mother's charm, and as Amanda often joked, my stubborn determination. At 17, she was already receiving interest from several prestigious universities with dreams of studying psychology. Our marriage had always seemed rock solid to me. We communicated openly, rarely argued beyond minor disagreements, and supported each other through life's challenges. When my father passed away 3 years ago, Amanda was my anchor, helping me navigate grief while maintaining our family's stability. When her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer last year, I took on extra responsibilities at home so she could make frequent visits to the hospital. Recently, I had received a significant promotion at work, which came with a substantial raise. We had been planning a special vacation to Hawaii in the summer, a reward for Lily's academic achievements, and a chance to celebrate our 15th anniversary. I had secretly arranged for a vow renewal ceremony on the beach, complete with the photographer Amanda had admired on Instagram. Looking back, there were small signs I chose to ignore. Amanda had become slightly more distant over the past few months. She spent more time on her phone, often stepping outside to take calls. When I asked about it, she mentioned increased responsibilities at work, preparing for end-of-year evaluations. I believed her without question, trusting completely in what we had built. Then came that fateful Monday evening. I arrived home from work to find Amanda sitting at our kitchen island, scrolling through her phone with an unusual intensity. After a quick kiss on my cheek, she mentioned casually that she had heard from a mutual friend that Jake had suffered a heart attack the previous weekend. I expressed appropriate sympathy, knowing he had been an important part of her past. What I did not expect was what came next. "I need to tell you something, Sullivan," she said, setting down her phone. "Jake is alone. His parents moved to Florida years ago, and he never really built a support system after our breakup. He needs someone to help him through his recovery." I nodded, assuming she was suggesting we send a care package or perhaps visit him in the hospital. But then she continued, each word feeling like a physical blow. "I am going to stay with Jake for 30 days to help him heal," she announced, as if telling me she was going to the grocery store. "His doctor says the first month after a heart attack is the most critical. He needs someone to monitor his medication, prepare proper meals, and drive him to follow-up appointments." I sat there speechless as she continued explaining how she had already requested a leave of absence from school, how Jake's apartment had a spare bedroom she could use, and how she had already discussed this with Lily. That last detail felt particularly painful, learning our daughter knew about this major decision before I did. When I finally found my voice, I asked the obvious questions. Why her? Could someone else in his life help? What about professional home health aides? Would not daily visits be sufficient? Why did she need to actually stay at his apartment? Amanda dismissed each concern with increasing irritation. "Sullivan, he was an important part of my life. I cannot just abandon him when he needs help. This is not about us, it is about basic human compassion. I thought you would understand. That night I struggled to sleep, my mind racing with questions and concerns. The next morning I approached the subject again, hoping a night's rest had given us both perspective. Instead, I found Lily and Amanda in the kitchen, their conversation stopping abruptly when I entered. "Dad, why are you being so difficult about this?" Lily asked, her tone accusatory. "Mom is just trying to help someone in need. It is only for 30 days. I was stunned by my daughter's reaction. Had Amanda presented the situation to her in a way that made me seem unreasonable, I tried explaining my perspective, emphasizing the unusual nature of the arrangement, but Lily cut me off. "You are being controlling and jealous," she said, words that felt like they came straight from someone else's mouth. "Mom has the right to help her friends. Do you not trust her?" It was in that moment I felt the first true fracture in our family, a small but significant fault line that would soon grow into an unbridgeable chasm. The week before Amanda planned to leave was filled with tension. I watched with growing unease as she packed not just necessities, but personal items that seemed excessive for a temporary caregiving situation. She carefully selected several framed photos, but notably none included me. She packed her expensive perfumes, special occasion jewelry, and even summer clothes, despite it being early March with no warm weather in sight. While helping move a suitcase, I accidentally knocked over her toiletry bag, spilling its contents. Among them was a small bag of lingerie items I had never seen before, still with price tags attached. When I questioned her about it, Amanda became defensive. "Are you searching through my things now? Is that how little you trust me?" she snapped. "I bought those weeks ago for our anniversary. I was planning to surprise you." Her explanation made no sense. Why pack lingerie meant for me when going to care for an ex-boyfriend? But each question I asked only led to more accusations of jealousy and controlling behavior. One evening I overheard Amanda on the phone in our backyard speaking in a hushed, intimate tone I recognized from the early days of our own relationship. "I have everything arranged," she said. "Sullivan is struggling with it, but he will come around. He always does." A pause, then a soft laugh. "I know, I miss that too. Soon." When she came inside, I confronted her about the call. She claimed it was with her department head at school discussing her leave arrangement. The lie came so easily to her that I began questioning my own reality. Had I misheard? Was I becoming paranoid? My suspicions grew when I discovered Amanda had been in regular contact with Jake for at least 6 months before his heart attack. I found evidence in our shared cloud storage, where photos had been automatically uploaded from her phone showing text conversations where they reminisced about their past relationship. None of the messages crossed explicit boundaries, but the emotional intimacy was unmistakable. More disturbing was finding a medical document Amanda had accidentally left in our printer queue. It detailed Jake's condition, which appeared far less severe than Amanda had described to me. It mentioned a minor cardiac event treatable with medication and lifestyle changes, with no indication of the critical condition requiring round-the-clock care that Amanda had portrayed. When I presented this evidence to Amanda, her reaction was not guilt or explanation, but anger at me for invading her privacy. She accused me of monitoring her communications and medical records, twisting the situation to make me the villain. "You are becoming someone I do not recognize, Sullivan," she said coldly. "Maybe this separation will be good for both of us." The word separation hung in the air between us. Until that moment, I had viewed this situation as a temporary, if inappropriate, arrangement. Now I realized Amanda might be seeing it as something far more significant. Meanwhile, Lily became increasingly distant, spending more time at friends' houses and barely speaking to me when home. From fragments of phone conversations I overheard, she was telling people a distorted version of events, casting me as irrationally jealous and controlling, unwilling to let her mother help someone in need. Friends and family began treating me differently. My brother Thomas called asking if everything was all right, mentioning that Amanda had reached out to him with concerns about my emotional state. My closest friend Michael suggested I give Amanda space and work on my issues, revealing she had contacted him as well. It became clear Amanda was systematically turning our social circle against me, preparing the ground for whatever was to come. The day Amanda left, Lily went with her ostensibly to help her mother get settled and see the apartment. She was supposed to return that evening, but texted that she was staying overnight. One night turned into the entire weekend. When they finally returned to collect more of Amanda's things, Lily was cold and businesslike. When I tried to talk with her privately, she rebuffed me. "Jake's place is actually really nice," she said pointedly, "and he is so grateful for Mom's help. He actually appreciates what she does." The implication was clear and cutting. Throughout their brief visit, Amanda made several private calls again, stepping outside despite the chilly weather. When I walked past an open window, I heard her say, "It is happening faster than we thought. He is falling apart." After they left again, I sat in our suddenly empty house, the full weight of betrayal settling over me. This was not about caregiving. This was not even about Jake's health. This was the systematic dismantling of our family, orchestrated with a precision that suggested long planning. I knew I needed to protect myself both emotionally and practically. The next day, I contacted a private investigator recommended by a colleague who had gone through a difficult divorce. I felt a strange sense of calm as I made the appointment, as if finally taking action provided the clarity I had been seeking. The investigator's findings arrived within a week. Photos showed Amanda and Jake dining at upscale restaurants, shopping at luxury stores, and walking hand in hand through a local park. There was no sign of a man requiring intensive caregiving. In one particularly painful image, they were kissing outside a jewelry store, Amanda wearing a dress I had never seen. The most devastating discovery came when I found partially completed divorce papers in Amanda's desk drawer when looking for our insurance documents. They were dated 3 months before Jake's supposed heart attack, with notes in Amanda's handwriting about asset division. More shocking were statements prepared for Lily to sign detailing how I had been emotionally distant and neglectful, creating a narrative that could influence custody arrangements despite Lily's age. When Amanda visited next to collect winter clothes, she suddenly needed. I casually mentioned Lily might want to come home for our traditional Sunday pancake breakfast. Amanda's response was telling. "Sullivan, Lily needs space from this environment. She finds it stressful being around you right now. Jake has actually been wonderful with her, helping her with college application essays and discussing psychology programs. He majored in psychology, you know." I did know. Just as I knew Jake had never completed his degree, dropping out after repeatedly failing required courses, something Amanda had once mocked when telling me about their relationship. Now he was being presented as an academic mentor to my daughter. The final confirmation came when Lily accidentally sent me a text clearly meant for a friend. "Mom says once the divorce happens, we might all move to California. Jake has a job offer there. Dad will be so blindsided." When I called Lily to talk about the message, she panicked, then admitted the truth. She had known for months about Amanda's plan to leave me for Jake. The heart attack, while real but minor, had simply accelerated their timeline and provided a convenient cover story. "She said you would be difficult and try to punish her financially," Lily explained, sounding much younger than her 17 years. "She said it would be easier this way and you would move on quicker if you thought she was just helping a friend." "And you agreed to be part of this deception?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Jake makes Mom happy in a way you have not for years," she replied, repeating what were clearly Amanda's words. "Sometimes families change, Dad. You need to accept that." After the call ended, I sat in stunned silence, my world completely shattered. Not just by Amanda's betrayal, but by my daughter's willing participation in it. The two people I loved most had conspired to dismantle our family while painting me as the villain. The pain was nearly unbearable, but somewhere beneath it a tiny spark of anger began to grow, one that would ultimately save me. 3 weeks into Amanda's caregiving stay, she called to inform me she needed to extend her time with Jake. "His recovery is taking longer than expected," she explained, not knowing I was fully aware of their deception. "I will need at least another month, maybe 2. "I see," I replied, my voice neutral. "And Lily? She is doing so well here, Sullivan. Jake is really connecting with her about college choices. Maybe it is best she stays too, at least until the school semester ends. We can figure out a more permanent arrangement then." The casual way she referred to permanent arrangements confirmed everything. This was not a temporary situation, but a transition to a new family configuration with Jake replacing me in their lives. Something inside me finally broke, but instead of collapsing, I felt a strange clarity. I deserved better than this elaborate betrayal. I deserved honesty, respect, and loyalty, none of which Amanda or Lily had shown me. That evening, I called Thomas, the only family member who had expressed genuine concern for my well-being. I told him everything, including the investigator's findings. His shock quickly turned to anger on my behalf, followed by practical advice. He recommended his friend Sarah, one of the top divorce attorneys in the state. The next day, I met with Sarah, who listened without judgment as I presented the evidence I had gathered. "This is actually quite advantageous for your case," she explained. "The documented deception, the attempt to alienate your daughter, the hidden financial movements. I suspect we will find all of this works strongly in your favor." We developed a comprehensive strategy. First, I secured our financial assets, not by emptying accounts, which would look vindictive, but by carefully documenting and freezing certain joint holdings to prevent further hidden withdrawals. Sarah discovered Amanda had indeed been siphoning money into a private account, nearly $60,000 over 6 months. Next, I gathered and secured all important documents from property deeds to investment portfolios. I changed the passwords on our shared accounts not to lock Amanda out, but to prevent further unauthorized changes. I documented the timeline of deception backed by text messages, emails, and the investigator's reports. The most difficult part was preparing emotionally. Sarah connected me with a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. During our sessions, I processed not just the end of my marriage, but the temporary loss of my relationship with Lily. The therapist helped me understand that Lily's behavior, while painful, came from manipulation and the natural tendency of some teenagers to align with what appears to be the winning side in parental conflicts. "Your job now," the therapist explained, "is to be the stable, consistent parent who maintains appropriate boundaries. Not punishing, not vengeful, but also not a doormat. Your daughter will eventually see the truth." With my support system and strategy in place, I took decisive action. I filed for divorce citing abandonment and infidelity, with substantial evidence supporting my claims. The terms were firm but fair, protecting my interests while not appearing punitive. I moved Amanda's remaining belongings to a storage unit, not out of spite, but to begin the physical separation process our living situation already reflected. I changed the locks and security codes on our home. Not to be petty, but because Amanda had given copies to Jake according to our security system logs showing unfamiliar access times when I was at work. Most importantly, I sent a carefully worded email to our extended family and close friends, not to alienate them from Amanda, but to simply state the factual timeline of events. I did not vilify her, but presented the documented truth, including the investigator's photos and the predated divorce papers. This was not about revenge, but about reclaiming my narrative from the distorted version Amanda had been spreading. When the divorce papers were served to Amanda at Jake's apartment, the reaction was immediate. She called, alternating between rage and tearful pleas. "How could you do this without talking to me first?" she demanded. "After 15 years of marriage, I deserve better than being served papers like a stranger." The irony of her statement was not lost on me. "Amanda, you have been planning to divorce me for months while actively deceiving me about your relationship with Jake. You involved our daughter in this deception. What exactly did I owe you beyond legal courtesy?" Her tone changed, then becoming cajoling. "Sullivan, we can work this out." I was confused. Jake needed help. Things just got complicated. "We should talk about this for Lily's sake, if nothing else." "We will talk through our attorneys," I replied, my voice calmer than I felt. "And regarding Lily, I have documented the ways you involved her in your deception. She is welcome in our home any time, but I will not be manipulated through her anymore." After I ended the call, Jake himself called, alternating between threats and attempts at male bonding. "Look, man, these things happen," he said. "People grow apart. No need to make this ugly." "The only ugliness here is the deception," I replied. "Amanda is free to be with whoever she chooses. She was not free to lie, manipulate our daughter, and attempt to drain our accounts while planning her exit. The legal system will handle it from here." Lily's reaction evolved from initial fury to gradual uncertainty. Her first call was all teenage anger. "How could you do this to Mom? She was just helping a friend, and you are punishing her for being kind." I remained calm. "Lily, I love you and always will. When you are ready to have an honest conversation about what has really been happening, I am here. Until then, I respect your need for space, but I will not engage with accusations based on a false narrative." Over the following days, as Amanda realized her careful plan had unraveled, she attempted multiple strategies, from showing up at our home unannounced to sending friends to check on me and report back. I remained firm in my boundaries, directing all communication through proper legal channels. What surprised me most was the wave of private support I received. Several friends admitted Amanda had tried to turn them against me with increasingly unbelievable stories. My brother Thomas became my strongest advocate, even confronting Amanda directly when she attempted to crash a family dinner to plead her case. Through it all, I maintained my dignity. I did not speak ill of Amanda to Lily despite the temptation. I did not engage in retaliatory actions despite opportunities. I simply stood firmly in my truth, protected what was rightfully mine, and allowed the natural consequences of Amanda's actions to unfold. The divorce proceedings revealed even more than I had anticipated. Amanda had not just been planning to leave me for Jake, they had been coordinating for nearly a year since reconnecting at a mutual friend's wedding. Financial records showed Amanda had helped pay some of Jake's debts, using our joint funds totaling over $20,000 before I discovered the withdrawals. Most painfully, text messages submitted as evidence showed Amanda and Jake discussing how to manage Lily's expectations and gradually turn her against me. "Sullivan is such a boring father," Amanda had written. "Jake will show Lily what having a fun dad is like, and she will forget all about Sunday pancakes." As these revelations came to light through the legal process, Amanda's support system began to crumble. The narrative of her selflessly helping an ailing friend collapsed under the weight of evidence. Friends who had initially taken her side reached out to apologize for their quick judgments. Family members who had believed her version expressed their shock and disappointment in her actions. Meanwhile, I focused entirely on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work, earning recognition for a major project that led to another promotion. I transformed our home not by erasing memories, but by creating new spaces that reflected my personality. The formal dining room we rarely used became a home music studio, allowing me to reconnect with the guitar playing I had abandoned years ago. I joined a hiking group, meeting people who knew nothing of my personal drama and accepted me simply as Sullivan, the software developer with a dry sense of humor and knowledge of local trails. These Saturday hikes became sacred time for personal reflection and healing. The most significant change was my approach to therapy. What started as crisis management evolved into profound personal growth. I examined patterns in my marriage, recognizing times I had overlooked red flags or surrendered my own needs to keep peace. I learned about setting healthy boundaries and recognizing manipulation tactics. Most importantly, I developed a stronger sense of self-worth that was not dependent on others' validation. 3 months into our separation, Lily reached out with a text that simply read, "Can we talk?" When she came over that weekend, I noticed immediate changes. She seemed smaller, somehow less certain of herself. We sat in the backyard, the spring flowers beginning to bloom around us. "Jake is not who Mom said he was," she began hesitantly. "He was nice at first, but now he gets angry over small things. Last week he threw a plate because Mom overcooked his steak." I listened without interruption as she detailed the deteriorating situation. Jake had lost his job, creating financial stress. Amanda was working extra tutoring hours to cover expenses. The move to California had been postponed indefinitely. The fantasy Amanda had constructed was collapsing under the weight of reality. "The worst part," Lily continued, tears forming, "is finding out Mom lied to me too. She told me Jake's heart condition was life-threatening. Last night during an argument, he admitted it was just elevated blood pressure and a warning from his doctor. There was never any heart attack." I wanted to say "I told you so," or express anger at how easily she had turned against me. Instead, I simply said, "That must feel like a profound betrayal." Lily broke down then, apologizing through tears for her role in the deception. I did not immediately offer forgiveness or comfort. Instead, I acknowledged her pain while being honest about my own. I love you, Lily. That has never changed. But rebuilding trust takes time and consistent actions. We cannot just pretend the last few months did not happen. We agreed to weekly dinners and joint therapy sessions with a family counselor. I maintained firm boundaries, refusing to discuss Amanda beyond practical co-parenting matters or be drawn into their increasingly chaotic relationship drama. Lily needed one stable parent, and I was determined to be that for her. 6 months after Amanda's departure, the divorce was finalized with terms strongly in my favor. I retained our family home and the majority of our assets with fair but limited support for Amanda given the circumstances. The judge was particularly influenced by the documented financial deception and the attempts to alienate Lily. Most vindicating was the court's assessment that Amanda's conduct showed a pattern of calculation and deception incompatible with the good faith expected in marital dissolution. In legal terms, it was a clear victory. In personal terms, it was final confirmation that my decision to stand up for myself had been the right one. The aftermath brought unexpected developments. Jake facing mounting financial pressures, and the reality of Amanda without her access to our joint resources began pulling away from the relationship. According to Lily, he had reconnected with a former girlfriend who had recently divorced her wealthy husband. Within weeks, he asked Amanda to move out, claiming they needed space. Amanda, suddenly, without Jake or the financial security of our marriage, attempted to reconcile. She showed up at my office with tearful apologies and promises of change. When that failed, she tried leveraging Lily, suggesting our daughter was suffering from our separation. When that too failed, she finally seemed to accept the permanent nature of our split. 1 year after Amanda first announced her plan to help Jake heal, I sat in my backyard watching the sunset, reflecting on the extraordinary journey. I had transformed from a devastated husband to a confident, independent man with stronger boundaries and deeper self-knowledge. My relationship with Lily, while still healing, had evolved into something more honest and mature than before. Amanda and I had established a functional co-parenting relationship, communicating primarily about Lily's needs through a dedicated app recommended by our family therapist. In our limited interactions at Lily's school events, we maintained civil, distant courtesy that faculty often remarked was more mature than many divorced parents managed. Most surprisingly, I found myself genuinely grateful for the painful awakening. Had Amanda been more patient or subtle in her exit strategy, I might have spent years in a relationship with someone who did not truly value me, losing precious time I could spend building an authentic life. I had recently begun dating again, cautiously and selectively. A colleague had introduced me to Julia, a landscape architect with a warm laugh and straightforward communication style that felt refreshingly honest after years of Amanda's subtle manipulations. We were taking things slowly, both bringing lessons from past relationships into this new connection. Lily, now preparing for college with acceptance letters from several excellent psychology programs, had found her own wisdom through the experience. I used to think relationships were about grand gestures and intensity, she told me during a recent dinner. Now I understand they are about consistency, honesty, and respect. I learned that from watching you this year, Dad. Those words healed something deep within me, confirming that even in our most painful experiences, we can model important truths for those we love. If there are lessons I could share from this journey, they would be these. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong, even when others try to convince you otherwise. Document everything when facing deception as truth eventually requires evidence. Find support from professionals and trusted friends rather than facing betrayal alone. Maintain dignity even when tempted to retaliate, as your character is revealed in how you handle mistreatment. Most importantly, remember that surviving betrayal is not just about weathering pain, but about reclaiming your power to define your own life. Sometimes the people we thought would stay forever are actually clearing the path for a more authentic future. If you have experienced something similar, share your story in the comments below. What helped you heal after betrayal? How did you rebuild trust in yourself or others? Like this video if you found value in this journey, subscribe for more real-life stories of resilience, and share with someone who might need to hear that. Better days await after betrayal. Thank you for listening, and remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Cherish it, protect it, and never settle for less than the respect you deserve.